For 7 years, they laughed. For 7 years, they said Pi Network was doing nothing, building nothing, going nowhere. They called it vaporware. They called it a scam. They said the core team was wasting everyone's time. And then 2025 happened. In just 12 months, Pi Network accomplished more than most blockchain projects achieve in their entire existence. They didn't just launch features. They didn't just add updates. They built an entire ecosystem from the ground up. Today, I'm walking you through everything Pi Network achieved in 2025. And when you see what they built in just 1 year, you'll understand why those 7 years of preparation weren't wasted time. They were strategic positioning. Let me show you what I mean. Hello, Pi Network pioneers. I'm your host, Nathan. Whether you're watching from India, Nigeria, Philippines, United States, Kenya, or anywhere else, this recap is going to change how you see Pi Network forever. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Drop a comment saying Pi Network to the moon with your country flag. Let's celebrate what we accomplished together. Now, before I reveal the biggest achievement of 2025, let me ask you something. What do you think is harder, moving fast or moving right? Most crypto projects move fast. They launch quick, they hype hard, and they collapse within months. Pi Network moved right, and 2025 proved why that matters. After more than 6 years of building in silence, Pi officially launched Open Network. Open Network wasn't just a technical upgrade. It was the moment Pi Network stopped being a closed ecosystem and became a global platform. Suddenly, Pi had real-world utility, external connectivity, the ability to interact with the broader blockchain world. Everything changed. But here's what most people missed. The Open Network launch wasn't the beginning. It was the culmination of 6 years of preparation, 6 years of building infrastructure that could handle what came next. And what came next was explosive. Let me show you just how explosive, because the numbers from 2025 are going to shock you. But before we get to those numbers, you need to understand the philosophy behind them. Pi Network introduced something revolutionary in 2025, AI-powered creation tools. They launched Pi App Studio, a generative AI-powered tool that enables anyone to build applications. You don't need to be a developer. You don't need coding experience. You just need an idea. This democratized app creation in ways the blockchain world has never seen, and pioneers responded massively. 13,400 chatbot apps were created, 24,400 custom apps were built, 51,800 pioneers became app builders. Think about that for a second. Over 51,000 people who previously had no way to contribute to the ecosystem suddenly became creators. This wasn't professionals building for pioneers. This was pioneers building for pioneers. AI and blockchain working together for fair value distribution, not concentration of power among developers, but distribution of opportunity among everyone. But here's the question nobody's asking. Why did Pi invest so heavily in making app creation this accessible? What does it reveal about their long-term strategy? The answer connects directly to what makes Pi different from every other blockchain. Pi Network didn't just want an ecosystem, they wanted an economy. The difference is crucial. An ecosystem has apps, an economy has circulation, value creation, real transactions between real people. By enabling 51,000 pioneers to build apps, Pi created 51,000 potential businesses inside the network, 51,000 reasons for Pi to circulate, 51,000 use cases for the token. This is how you build sustainable value, not through speculation, but through utility multiplication. And Pi Network backed this strategy with serious capital. They launched Pi Network Ventures' $100 million fund dedicated to ecosystem growth. $100 million, not for marketing, not for hype, for building real companies that bring real utility to Pi. They invested in OpenMind, an AI and robotics company. They invested in CD Games, bringing gaming utility to Pi. These aren't random bets. These are strategic investments in sectors that drive adoption and long-term ecosystem growth. But the venture fund reveals something deeper about Pi's timeline, something about when mass adoption is happening, and the KYC numbers from 2025 tell us exactly when that moment is coming. KYC has been the most controversial part of Pi Network since the beginning. People complained about delays, they complained about verification taking forever, they said the core team was incompetent for not processing KYC faster. Then, in 2025, Pi introduced fast-track KYC, and everything accelerated. 17.5 million pioneers completed full KYC verification. 15.8 million migrated to mainnet. Let me put that in perspective. 15.8 million verified users on a blockchain network. That's more than most countries have bank accounts. That's more than most social media platforms had in their first decade. And here's the breakthrough. AI-powered KYC reduced validation delays by 50%. The technology finally caught up to the vision. What used to take weeks now takes days. What used to require manual review now happens algorithmically. This wasn't the core team being slow. This was the core team waiting for the technology to mature enough to handle the scale they needed. But there's something even more impressive happening behind the scenes, something in the node infrastructure that reveals just how decentralized Pi Network has become. And when you see these numbers, you'll understand why decentralization matters more than speed. 350,000 nodes on testnet. Let that sink in. 350,000 independent computers running the Pi Network protocol, validating transactions, securing the blockchain, maintaining the network. That's not centralization. That's not a company running servers. That's true decentralization at a scale most blockchains never reach. And Pi didn't stop there. They evolved Pi Node into Pi Desktop, making it easier to run. They released Linux Node for technical users. They upgraded the protocol from version 19 to version 23. Each upgrade improved performance, improved security, improved scalability. But here's where it gets really interesting. Pi is exploring decentralized AI computing paid in Pi. Think about what that means. Right now, AI companies pay millions for computing power. They rent servers from big tech companies. They're dependent on centralized infrastructure. Pi Network is building a decentralized alternative where node operators can rent out their computing power for AI processing and get paid in Pi. This creates another massive use case for the token, another reason for Pi to have real economic value, another way the ecosystem becomes self-sustaining. But the node network isn't just about decentralization. It's preparation for something bigger, something the core team is building right now that will require massive computing power. The ecosystem growth from 2025 gives us a hint about what's coming. Pi introduced ecosystem directory staking in 2025. This means apps can stake Pi to get featured in the directory. Users can stake Pi to support apps they believe in. The entire ecosystem runs on Pi circulation, not external funding. They held Pi Hackathon 2025, which produced 215 mainnet apps, real applications, real utility, real businesses launching on Pi. They completed the .pi domains auction. Now you can have a blockchain domain that ends in .pi, your identity, your brand, your digital real estate on the Pi network. They launched DEX, AMX, and token tools on testnet. Decentralized exchange, automated market maker, the infrastructure for a full financial ecosystem. Pi was represented at Token 2049 Singapore, one of the biggest blockchain conferences in the world. No longer hiding, no longer in stealth mode, Pi Network showing up on the global stage. All of this happened in 1 year. 1 year. After 6 years of people saying nothing was happening, Pi Network delivered an explosion of development, infrastructure, and real-world utility. But here's the question that matters most. What does all of this mean for 2026? What is the core team building toward? The pattern reveals something massive. Let me connect the dots for you. AI-powered app creation, $100 million venture fund, 17 million verified users, 350,000 nodes, ecosystem staking, DEX and AMM infrastructure. These aren't random features. These are the building blocks of a complete financial ecosystem. Pi Network isn't trying to be another cryptocurrency. They're building an alternative economy. An economy where you can build apps without coding, where you can stake to support projects, where you can trade tokens, where you can own domains, where you can participate in decentralized AI computing. An economy where Pi is the currency that makes everything work. And here's what nobody's talking about. All of this infrastructure is preparation for the moment when Pi reaches its global consensus value of $314,159. People think that number is crazy. They think it's impossible. But look at what Pi built in 2025. If one Pi is worth $300,000, you can't just have speculation. You need real utility, real circulation, real businesses using the token. Pi spent 7 years building the foundation for that utility, and 2025 proved the foundation works. Now in 2026, they're building on top of it. Pi Network in 2026 means more building, more utilities, more real-world use cases. The core team isn't slowing down, they're accelerating. Everything they built in 2025 was infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, the foundation of the city. 2026 is when they build the city itself. More apps, more businesses, more integration with traditional finance, more partnerships with major companies. The skeptics who laughed for 7 years are about to see why patience matters, why building correctly matters, why infrastructure matters. You can launch fast and crash hard, or you can build slowly and scale infinitely. Pi Network chose the second path, and 2025 proved it was the right choice. The people who held through the silence, who trusted the process, who believed in the vision, they're about to be vindicated. Because the core team isn't just cooking something massive, they already delivered something massive, and they're just getting started. Let me be absolutely clear about something. The 7 years weren't wasted. Every single day was strategic. Every delay had a purpose. Every piece of infrastructure built during that time made 2025 possible. You can't onboard 17 million verified users without years of KYC infrastructure development. You can't support 350,000 nodes without years of protocol optimization. You can't enable 51,000 app creators without years of platform development. The silence wasn't emptiness, it was construction. And 2025 was the year the building became visible. The year skeptics had to admit something real was happening. The year Pi Network proved it's not vaporware, it's the most ambitious blockchain project in history. 2026 is going to be even bigger. More integrations, more partnerships, more utility, more reasons for Pi to reach that $314,000 global consensus value. The foundation is built, the infrastructure is live, the ecosystem is growing. Now we scale. Pi Network's 2025 recap isn't just a list of achievements, it's proof that the long game wins. While other projects rushed to launch and crashed within months, Pi spent 7 years building an ecosystem that can last decades. While other projects focused on hype and speculation, Pi focused on utility and infrastructure. While other projects made promises, Pi delivered results. 13,000 chatbot apps, 24,000 custom apps, 51,000 creators, $100 million venture fund, 17 million verified users, 350,000 nodes. These aren't projections, these aren't promises, these are accomplished facts from just 1 year. And if Pi accomplished this much in 2025, imagine what 2026 brings. The core team is cooking something massive, and based on everything they delivered last year, we should expect nothing less than revolutionary. Smash that like button if 2025 convinced you Pi Network is real. Subscribe if you're ready for what comes next. The best is yet to come. I'll see you tomorrow.